you have to do research on your own body. If you're going to try to heal yourself, I tell people, don't just listen to us, but go do some research. Go read the papers. Because again, I'm just a guy. Most people need to hear stuff from like actual white papers and whatnot. And we're creating that as we speak. But it's already out there. The reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because it's already happened. We already have proof that this stuff works. So as the information drops in your brain can actually heal, your body can actually heal.
In this episode of ayahuascapodcast.com, I interview Ian McCall. We talk about his journey from being a former UFC championship contender to becoming a psychedelic coach and a researcher. We talk about traumatic brain injury and psychedelics, his research project on TBI in athletes and ayahuasca and how it can help. We talk about his story of overcoming addiction and suicidal ideation and his newly found life of service to others. Enjoy this episode. Hi guys, and welcome to Ayahuasca Podcast. As always with you, the host Sam Believ. Our guest today is Ian McCall. Ian is a mixed martial arts fighter. He's a contender for UFC championship belt. He is now a psychedelic researcher and consultant, and he is the world's first psychedelic coach for high-level sports people. So, Ian, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Yeah, I'm no longer that first coach. I mean, I guess I'm still the first guy, but I share that title with my friend Adam Bramlage. He, we both started working with athletes from different sides of sports, different perspectives a while back. And I stuck my flag in the ground and I said, I'm the first one. And he was like, I'm the first one. And now there's a bunch of us. There is. I'm building a team of athletes to coach other athletes through this process. We've got mentorship programs, and I have my nonprofit that we are not only bringing athletes like through the scientific study that we're trying to create. It's the first study of its kind ever using athletes as the case study, using ayahuasca to see the effects on traumatic brain injury. And we're testing everything from genetics to the gut biome, electricity, everything we can. All these athletes have a lot of brain scans already. So we're going pretty deep with the testing, bring the athletes through the healing process. And there's a few options here. Athletes, most of them are here because they're damaged and they want to retire. They want to move on with life and they don't have any direction. Or maybe they do, but it needs to be galvanized and they need to heal the brain damage that they've incurred on their path to greatness. Then there's also people like Giorgio Gomez, my pro surfer, or Mark the Shark Irwin, who is my bare knuckle boxing world champion. I not only won a world title as a fighter, but now I've won a world title as a coach, and using psychedelics has been a big part of that. We train on psychedelics. We use large doses of psychedelics. We use, he won a world title on 7.5 grams of mushrooms. And I was on 5 in his corner, which is for most people, that's an absurd amount of mushrooms to be on while doing anything outside of laying on a mat, crying your eyes out. But we wanted to test it, and I don't fight anymore. I'm not the athlete, so he's my little space monkey that I'm shooting into orbit. I always like to say that good science is irresponsible science. That's the way you push the boundaries of our understanding as humans of what we're trying to accomplish. And I'm shockingly not a doctor, not a scientist. I'm just a guy that learned some stuff. But being obsessive, a world champion, you have these mechanisms in your brain that push you to do things more than most. And I got obsessed, especially with my own personal healing. I was like, wow, this is fucking incredible. I was so damaged. I was able to save myself, so I had to tell everybody. I had to research this. I had to figure out a scientific method. I had to build my own method, the McCall method, which the McCall method is turned into something else, but it's more of a coaching platform now. But using these medicines, I healed myself. I've helped heal others, but I also saw the performance benefits of them, not just for life, but for sports, selfishly. Selfishly, I want to see people achieve greatness, like I was able to. I lost it all, yes, very dramatically. But, to help them not just be good, but be great, or have a chance to be great, to open up their minds and their bodies to be able to just put on the greatest performances ever, because that's our gift to you guys, is we put our lives on the line every time we step on the field, in the cage, in a race car, we surf a big wave. We are doing that, yes, for greatness, yes, for money, the accolades, your name is etched in time forever. But we're doing it because you guys give us the opportunity to do so. Fans, we give the fans hope of life. Most of you guys' lives are boring, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a normal person. I don't know what it's like to live like a normal person. But whatever it is that drives you guys to want to celebrate us for riding a 50-foot wave or beating the shit out of another person in a cage, it's weird. But sports, like I said, they give people hope, and athletes are going to be the next generation or the next version of people that are going to push healing to the next level. See, first we had our African Feral Hearts Project. It's very dear to me. They saved my life. I'm going back down to the jungles with them in in August. And I modeled my entire nonprofit, which is Athletes Journey Home. I should probably be wearing an Athletes Journey Home shirt, but whatever.
We'll talk about it later. We'll definitely mention.
Yeah,
it.
We'll get there. And where was I going? Sorry.
You went all over the place. You touched so many topics that we're gonna go into in detail. First of all, it's great because you're gonna be an easy interview. You just I don't even need to ask you questions. You just tell stories, which is great. But I want to start first by saying you look great, Ian. You look chill, you look relaxed, you look healthy. So whatever it is you're doing it right. I watched some UFC. I think I've seen your persona before, and you look like you're younger, and it's amazing. I want to tell a little story to listeners. Maybe 2 months ago or so, I was drinking ayahuasca at our retreat right here where we live. And for some reason, I had this thought that Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov should come to my retreat, drink ayahuasca, and heal their relationship. That's the most bizarre thing ever, just bizarre ayahuasca thought. And I just whatever, right? It's a funny story to tell in the word circle. And then surprisingly, I saw you, and you were talking about TBI, and I both had in my list of people to interview. I had the person I wanted to interview, somebody who was a martial artist, and I also wanted to interview somebody who works with TBI, and you click both of those boxes, and now we're interviewing people, right? So it's interesting how when you want something or it shows you something, then it becomes a reality.
The universe provides.
Before we talk about your project, first, how does one go from being a mixed martial artist, championship contender, like a very high level elite fighter, to psychedelics and to helping others? What was that transition for you? Tell us about that.
Well, I started to partake in plant medicine at a very young age. Too young. I was smoking cannabis by the time I was 8 years old. I took LSD for the first time when I was 12. Mushrooms were as a teenager. MDMA as a teenager. It just kind of... psychedelics have been reserved for the wealthy, white kids in America for a long time. That's from my dad's generation, from the 70s until now. And my dad, we'll rewind, he smuggled cannabis around the world in the 70s, just to see the world, not really for money, but he was able to travel the world and make money and do this. So he also always told me stories about psychedelics, about how important they were, how healing they were. So that always sat in the back of my mind. My brother has been extracting DMT for over 15 years. He's the chemist of the family. I was in a really bad place when I retired. I wanted to kill myself. I've been really close to it more than once, had a loaded gun in my mouth on more than one occasion. And I knew bodies could heal. I already knew that because previously my daughter got very, very sick when I was in the UFC. She got juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And as a family unit, we healed her with first this diet and exercise. Those are the first two things. You got physical therapy, and I was taking her to cryotherapy, and I was taking her to sound baths and playing the right music and doing all these sort of things. But I started to give her high dose Rick Simpson oil, which is cannabis oil. And getting high with a toddler is kind of funny, but kind of not, but through the process, I educated myself. I always wanted to be a scientist as a kid. I love information. I was selfishly learning things about human performance the whole time I was fighting because I wanted to be the best fighter in the world. And that's why I achieved what I did. But when my daughter got sick, it was a whole new ballgame. I had to go and learn about the inflammatory system on multiple levels. Obviously, the cannabinoid system was the first. Then I started to look into things, like the gut biome and certain interactions with certain foods in her body and my body and so on. So I had a couple of good case studies. I was always studying myself. I was studying her, and I was studying my best friend who passed away. I was just trying to transform him. Him and I both became world champions together. And we both, at one point, were raising my daughter together. My ex-wife and I were not together, and I lived with him, and he helped me. He was the uncle. So fast forward to me being retired, being very damaged, very addicted, heroin, fentanyl, anything really to get me high, women. I was a playboy my whole life, so I had a lot of trauma, a lot of mother wounds that I had to deal with. But first, I had to deal with my brain damage, and I was friends with Joe Rogan back then. I was on his show a few times. I just got a bunch of signs from all over the place of how important these mushrooms are going to be for me. So one day, my brother serves me DMT on my couch, and it shows me, look, it's time to retire. It's time to grow up and get past this. Look how bad you're doing. Like you said, I look younger now. I do, because I've aged in reverse over the last 6 years since I retired. And that's with stem cells and peptides and a bunch of stuff. But ayahuasca has been a big part of that. Mushrooms have been a big part of that. So I sat down and I started to read, just like when, Joe and I would talk about, we conversate about information about my daughter's autoimmune disease. I looked at brain damage. I looked at the theoretical science of psychedelics, of mushrooms, of epigenetic neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, all these sort of things. And I applied it to myself. I already understood how the body worked. I already healed a miniature version of myself. So I was like, this, let's hope this works. And it did. It took me a while. Psychedelics gave me the thought to get off drugs. Peptides are what really, sorry, I'm coughing up. Peptides are what really got my body off of drugs. So anybody out there who's listening, if you're having a hard time coming off of something like heroin or fentanyl, use peptides. Look into peptides for detoxing. Don't use your Western medicine. The entire Western medicine model has failed me. It's failed you. It's failed everybody. So there's now a lot better routes to take to heal yourself. on every level, not just physical, but spiritual. So I started to go down the path, and I was constantly microdosing something, all the time. Because I figured, I'm sorry, Fadiman, Dr. Fadiman's a friend of mine, but his protocol is way too small, or Paul Stamets. So it's like 1 day on or 2 days off, like all this sort of stuff. I needed an extended period of time to heal my brain. So I understood that. I was doing 5 days on, 2 days off, which has seemed to become kind of more normal for people. But started to go down the path, started to meet people like Dr. Fadiman. At the time, I was dating a scientist, a UCLA professor and scientist, amazing teacher of mine. She's taught me more than any other person in this world outside of my own daughter. And I had a lot of people, Matthew Johnson from Johns Hopkins, Melissa Dawn from Dawn Scientific. They would see me getting more shine from than them, because they're scientists, they're doctors, but nobody wants to listen to them because they lied to us about, not them specifically, but that whole model of people has lied to us and hurt us and just like poisoned us. So I was able to kind of jump ahead of them, and I've been in Forbes, I've been in HBO, I've been in all these accomplishments. The cover of LA Weekly, it said "Fight Shaman." The one word I said don't use with my name was Shaman, and they use, of course, because it's media and whatever. It sells exactly. I was annoyed at first, but it doesn't matter. It got the word out. And as I'm achieving all these things, these scientists would be like, "Hey, look, like, who are you, and what are your intentions?" And like every person pulled me aside and asked me the right questions, and I just recited all their work. I just said, "Well, you did this and you did that. I know this, and you know that, and this person did that, and they did this," and they were just like, "Whoa, okay, yeah, we get it, a lot of stuff. If you're going to speak for us, this is how you need to talk. This is what you need to say. This is how you need to make it sound." Because you're a little off here, you're a little off there. And everyone just wanted me to give the right information. We call it the pollination effect. Whereas the queen bee researcher now, I'm the queen bee researcher. I'm giving this information to my athletes, and my athletes are going to go out there. They're going to use their blue check marks on social media to pollinate all the people that are listening to what they have to say, because people resonate with sports. They have hope in sports, and every athlete that I know, whether they've, won a world title or not, they have some kid or some person that is like, "You changed my life. You saved my life because I watched you do what you did." And that's a huge impact. I mean, that's just one person is a big impact. That's enough. But the fact that these men and women can help me really affect millions of people, if not more. We start small. We start with their groups, their lane, stay in your lane. You're a surfer, you preach to surfers, fighters preach to fighters, and race car drivers, and so on. Obviously, once these athletes go through the process, they get healed. We have analytics, we have data for their brains, which I'm not worried about the data. Data equates to ones and zeros of money, and it's not good. But it's a necessity for donations and whatnot. I'm more interested in the stories that these athletes have to say, because trauma only comes in a few different flavors, and we all have at least one of them. So once we peel back the layers of the brain damage, and we're able to access these people's real bullshit, their deep-seated traumas. Well, what are the things that drove you to become the best in the world at that chosen sport? Number one, you're off, you're crazy, you're all these things that aren't normal, but also you, on your path to greatness, you lost or you pushed aside all these other life things. How long it took me to figure out how to do my taxes, how long it takes me to do most normal things that people do. I'm still having trouble. I've been retired for 6 years. I've been working on myself this whole time. So if I can expedite the process, create an ecosystem for them to heal, and then give them work after, give them a job. Yeah, because most athletes have nothing after sports. And most athletes don't have money. Most athletes are broke. You're like, oh, you guys are all rich. I'm like, never knew. Most people are broken and broke. You know, they gave up everything for this shot at greatness, and whether they achieved it or not, they lost a lot in the process. And I'm just trying to, as the name says, I'm trying to bring them home. Athletes' journey home. Bring them home to be that high achieving person, but now in a life of service. You're going to give your life to service and give back to your community. And that doesn't mean you're a nun or you're a priest, or if that's where you want to go for it. But I'm saying you're a life of service to your community, which is the sport you help build. And the people around you, your family. Like, I work with a lot of people. It's not just athletes. I had a client die yesterday for the first time of cancer, which was rough. But I work with cancer patients and ALS patients and all these other variables. A lot of autistic people, being told I'm on the spectrum as well. I was also a big part of what I do. So yeah, we're headed in the right direction right now. We're just trying to raise the money.
Mm-hmm. I think that understanding that athletes are also, they're hurt, but they're also very driven. And obviously, to become an athlete and to become a top performer, it means you're an extra capable individual. So if you would put them on their own healing journey with psychedelics and with spirituality, and then maybe retrain them as facilitators or coaches, it's a very strong force of nature. Those are very powerful people if you direct this in the right direction. I want to mention, you said about your daughter and the work with cannabis. In the Western world, it would be something like they would say, you're just completely crazy. You're a lunatic. Like, what do you mean, drugs and kids? But in the jungle, they're kids. They take ayahuasca and they go and they play football, and they're way more sane than most Western kids. So it's we really need to. I don't say like just give drugs to kids, but I'm saying we really need to rethink how it is and work with psychedelics, both for depressed children or depressed mothers or mothers that are nursing. I had an episode on that as well. A lot of people don't know about me. I run the ayahuasca retreat and this podcast, but when I was a teenager, I did boxing for 8 years. I rarely competed, but it was just something. I come from Eastern Europe originally, and as a boy growing up in Eastern Europe, you're expected to do some kind of sports. So, and the reason I stopped doing boxing is because I had a TBI as well. So I fell, and then I kept doing boxing. So my brain was always shaken. There was always every time after the workout, I would come out and my head would hurt. So that's why I have a big interest in TBI, not only for people but also for myself. When I drink ayahuasca, and I haven't had headaches for a long time now. I think as a side effect, because I came to ayahuasca for depression, but as a side effect, it healed my headaches as well. Although they subsided as I stopped training. But a lot of people don't understand that every hit you take, and even every hit you give, goes back to your brain and shakes it a little bit. Or that's with martial arts. Every fall, every movement. So athletes, they're all they're in pain, not just from the brain, but also like everyone who does any sports as a sports, it's a very painful endeavor. So let's talk a little bit about TBI. How you're explain the science to us, because I know you're very good at explaining it. The processes that happen in your brain on psychedelics and why it's helpful for TBI, and tell us your own story with the TBI. How did it progress, and how do you feel now?
Ooh, with TBI, mine was pretty aggressive because I had a major TBI in high school. I put myself in the hospital for a couple of days, snowboarding, hit my face really, really hard. And that I know made my shelf life as a fighter shorter, well, a lot shorter. But I was also getting punched in the head since I was 4 years old. I was a martial arts prodigy, so it was just a matter of time until I couldn't take it. I did. I mean, I was fighting constantly as a kid, constantly getting hit with things. I've been hit with bottles. I've had a lot of blows to the head, like an uncountable number of things that happened. And then there was all the addictions, that were attached to it, all the damage with drugs that it caused to my receptors and whatnot. This is all damage. This is all brain. Now, when you take any psychedelic, you have neuroplasticity happen. You have the process of epigenetic neurogenesis going on in your body. That's the production of chemicals like brain-derived neurotrophic factor, glutamate. These things actually heal the brain. We were told as kids, you can never once you have dead brain cells, you're never going to heal them again. They're dead forever. That's not true. We can heal the brain. We can make ourselves feel a lot better, and with a big dose, you're going to have some great effects, of course. But microdosing is where I feel like the greater healing actually happens on the physical level, because you have Miracle-Gro in your brain for one day in a big dose, or you have it in, say, a big dose or in a bunch of small doses. Obviously, that's going to lead the brain to heal itself. You also have the changes in diet, change in vibration. You have people, everyone who gets into psychedelics looks at other tools like breath work and meditation, all these things. TBI is not it's not a like a one tool sort of thing. If you're going to attack your TBI, you need to do it with multiple tools. That's my best suggestion. Diet and exercise is always first, because not everybody wants to take psychedelics. But if you want to speed up the process of your healing, psychedelics are the greatest key you can use. They're also the cheapest. You can go outside and forage for wild mushrooms. And I talk to people all over the world who are taking this. I was looking to go to Ukraine recently and teach some seminars, because some people out there are taking mushrooms and growing mushrooms. Like, I would love to go to Ukraine right now. I don't care about the war. I'll go. It's a cool story, and if I can help people, then they can help you. And you have to do research on your own body. If you're going to try to heal yourself, I tell people, don't just listen to us, but go do some research. Go read the papers. Because again, I'm just a guy. Most people need to hear stuff from like actual white papers and whatnot. We're creating that as we speak. But it's already out there. The reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because it's already happened. We already have proof that this stuff works. So as the inflammation drops in your brain can actually heal, your body can actually heal. And most people don't know that you have serotonin receptors all over your skin too. You ever saw serotonin receptors all over most of your body. So when those mechanisms are triggered, the 5-HT2A receptor pathway is triggered from psilocybin or psilocin. As psilocybin goes into your body, goes to psilocin. We'll just use mushrooms for instance. That's a serotonin analog. So it acts and excites the same receptors. When that happens, you also trigger the BDNF receptor. I can't think of what that's called right now. But the BDNF receptor is something that we just found out like a year ago. That's actually affected like 5,000 times more than the serotonin receptor. Now, what all this means is your brain is healing. Your brain's creating the right drugs to heal your brain. You have 4 parts of your brain, 2 hemispheres. Usually, those parts all speak on their own. They don't speak in conjunction with each other. But now they're fluently speaking. You're accessing memories, thought patterns, speech patterns, all these things that start to happen. Your shoulders drop, your smile goes up, and you have an overwhelming sense of just well-being. Your agoraphobia or your anxiety, depression, all these things start to loosen at least a little bit. Maybe for few hours a day, they're gone. And you're like, okay, I feel this. This is working. This is happening. How do I proceed? So you just keep taking it. And you can slowly start to become your own citizen scientist. I tell people, if you can, buy like an ounce of mushrooms and start to measure it out. Or just take stuff, because that's going to work, but it's not a process. You're just hoping you don't get too high. Weigh it out and figure out how you like to ingest it, whether that's juice or whether that's coffee or that's in capsule form, whatever it is. And you can have this, sustained relief of life, because your body and your brain are ready to heal. Then I recommend big doses. If you haven't done a big dose before this, or you'll want to eventually. And it's scary. You shouldn't be afraid. It is. It's not. This isn't fun. Okay, this is terrifying for most people. For me, I've done 20 grams in the jungle with a Mazatec shaman, and I was scared shitless. You get in there and you do 20 years, a lifetime's worth of therapy in 6 hours. So that's the next thing. Once you break the brain damage, you start to peel those layers off. Then you access the body, you access the soul, you access the traumas, and you can really heal. Because for me, I healed my traumatic brain injury, but eventually I realized I was spiritually broken. That was the next piece of what I had to get into. That's been a much more exhaustive search for me than had just taken something, just taking something to feel better. That was simple. That was really, really easy. Eating right, I've eaten right my whole life. Worked out, I work out all the time. Almost every day. I go in the sauna, cold play. Everyone's all about cold and hot therapy. That stuff I've been doing since high school, just as I had to because of wrestling. And it's not about bragging. It's just, I didn't know science up until you guys knew it too. Maybe a little earlier, because that's what I do is I research these things, or I have friends that do the research. But I keep harping on tools. You got to get a lot of stuff done. You got to make this a lifestyle choice, because if you go back to being a toxic person, it's going to be a lot harder to heal if your vibration isn't right. Like, this works for so many levels. And if you really want to get to the heart of it, you really want to feel better, you have to change the talk, and neurolinguistic programming and so on. There's so many things you have to fix through the process, because when you're broken and your brain damaged, you're depressed, you have the anxiety, everyone's against you, your thoughts, get jumbled up and confused. So you have to reprogram your entire self. There's a lot of work to be done within this. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to build a structure for it so people don't have to go search for it themselves. They just come home, and I welcome them, and we take care of them.
So you're not only working on yourself, obviously getting yourself better, and then helping others by coaching them. Now you're doing this project that's called Athlete's Journey Home, where you organize 10 or 12 athletes to go to the Amazon. So you collect the funds with your charity to go to the Amazon, where they drink ayahuasca, and you make the study on them to observe their results. Can you talk to us about that? Has it already been done and it's like a second round now, or is it still the first one? What are the results so far, and why ayahuasca?
Well, number one, why ayahuasca? It just fell into my lap. I follow my path. The universe provides. God provides. I did a bunch of work within the mushroom space, within UFC. I got the UFC to agree to a study in 2019 with Johns Hopkins University, and they also agreed to a study in 2021 or 2022 with the University of Miami. Neither one took place because one side or another dropped the ball, and I just kind of not given up on studying mushrooms. I'll get there, but I was presented this deal because of Heroic Hearts Project. Jesse Gould, who I modeled my entire nonprofit ecosystem after HHP, he says, hey, you want to you should study your people's brains, because they've done veteran studies with certain amounts of TBI, because veterans have subconcussive blows from guns, they have big blasts from getting blown up, they fall. Of course, they have traumatic brain injury, but maybe not as bad as we have it, I guess you could say. It was more or less, this was waiting in front of me, and I knew I could use this big tool out of ayahuasca at the Ayahuasca Foundation. That's the thing, is this is the highest level of science. You don't get any higher than this. We're down at the Ayahuasca Foundation in Peru with Onaya Sciences, the first PhD of ayahuasca ever, psychopharmacologists and people giving TED Talks. My team at Onaya Sciences are killers. They are, it's probably the wrong word to use. They're really good at what they do. And I'm proud to call them my friends and my colleagues. We have the framework all set up. It's just waiting for us to raise the money. It'll be our first study. Yes, there's been veteran studies. This will be the first of its kind, the first study. If I can raise all the money by September, great. If not, then the amount of science will kind of slim down, because science is expensive. But I'm leading the door. If I can raise all $100,000 by then, great. We'll test everybody to the craziest degree we can. But more or less, just like Heroic Hearts Project did multiple years ago, they start with the story. Science is really expensive, and I need this to happen as soon as possible. My bare knuckle boxer, we won a world title last year, and we lost a world title last year. All within 1 year. Two of the craziest fights ever. You can check him out. Mark Mishucker. And by the end, he was in the hospital, severely concussed. And as a coach, I want a fighter that is willing to die for me out there, that is willing to put his life on the line for me out there. But to see that almost transpire, to see someone who's like my little brother almost die out there, was a lot. I have to get him healed. I have to get my surfer Sergio Gomez healed so he can go on to win his world title. And these are all people who are damaged, that are in my ecosystem, so I don't need to rush it, but I already have a lot of data on these people's brains, their hormones, their bodies. So, more importantly is to get the word out, just like Heroic Hearts Project did. We go out, we collect the stories. I've got an Emmy award-winning producer that wants to shoot a documentary. Jordan Kronik, the guy that put me on Real Sports on HBO, wants to shoot a documentary. We're shooting a documentary on myself. There's a lot of substance here, and when we get the message out, I keep harping on the vets. The vets kicked the door in for us. They got the awareness available for us. But veterans are supposed to be nameless and faceless. That's how it works. They sign something. My mentor ran SEAL Team 6 for 20 years. And he does not like that all these special forces guys have podcasts and whatnot. And I laugh at it because he's an old man. He's grumpy. Kids these days are their goddamn podcasts. But now veterans, they let this happen. Now we have athletes that people know, that they're like, oh, I saw you on TV. I saw you win. I saw you lose. I saw you give everything for us. So now our heroes have a face. And this is the next step. I know where the next step is coming after that too. The next step is moms on mushrooms or moms on psychedelics. But check out that Instagram. Those women are going to change the world for sure. But us as our athletes as heroes, we're just the next in line to tell our stories.
Mom on Mushroom was Tracy T. I interviewed her, I think, maybe 10 episodes ago. Moms is next, because if you get happy moms, then you get happy kids, and you get the entire happy generation. So it's not going to be easy as it's going mainstream. It's not going to be easy to get it there. So people like you, it's an important work you're doing, because obviously you got popular and you got the celebrity status through fighting. Now you're healing yourself and you're spreading the message. So I appreciate what you're doing. And, if you do study on athletes and you mention ayahuasca, then eventually it just becomes the thing where people relax and stop judging the things they don't understand that much. And then, I think my dream is that within the next 10 years, we'll go from what the hell is ayahuasca to when's the last time you did ayahuasca?
Yes.
Because kind of like it happened to meditation, it happened to yoga. I think psychedelics are next, but obviously in a very organized manner, in such a way that we also don't lose the tradition, and we don't lose the magic, and don't just put in a pill and start abusing it like we did with other plant medicines like cacao, coca, tobacco. So what do you could you share to so we will definitely link to your page for your project, to see if somebody who listens maybe wants to contribute or have something to offer. I'm not rich, but I would like to offer, if you ever need a retreat center to bring some people, we'll definitely help you on that side. So definitely open to, maybe after the episode we can talk if there's something I can do for you. Maybe some people who are listening as well. But talk to us a little bit about McCall method. Is it still a thing? What is it, and how did you came up with it?
Well, it's it's in my LLC, and it's a mixture between the scientific platform, research company, and a coaching platform. I might have to start another company to separate the two. I don't know. I'm not good. I'm just fly by the seat of my pants here. But it's my company that I can take opportunities. I do consulting, basically. I do consulting within the space of sites, because I've got, schools like Harvard and Columbia, University of Rochester, and these Ivy League schools that are asking me to come and speak. When they asked me last year, I laughed and I was like, I don't have any information. I'm just a talking head. So now I'm trying to go out there and collect this information through the nonprofit and expand my capabilities as a researcher, because I am a researcher. I have more applied science of these medicines than I guarantee you over 90% of the other researchers, maybe more. I've used these medicines with so many people on so many occasions in different variables. So I have to prove myself, and I like proving myself. I like proving people wrong. I like showing them I'm not a dummy, that I'm not just a fighter, that I am this different person that I was meant to be my whole life. Awareness is key, obviously, as we push through with this. I've got a good team, an ecosystem of people. I mean, the McCall method started as me giving a platform to the people that taught me what I know. That's what it started as. So just like with Athlete's Journey Home, if I can build this company and have investments or have funds from grants or whatever it is we're trying to accomplish, then I get to pay my friends to work for me. Seems like a pretty good job, pretty cool thing I could set up, because for some reason I'm able to connect this sort of stuff. I'm able to pull this sort of stuff off. And psychedelics doesn't really pay very well, at least. I know MAPS just cashed out $100 million with Lycos. I don't know if you heard about that, but MAPS just sold out. Shocker. To a pharmaceutical company. There's that. The pharmaceutical industry, big business, is always trying to take from us. It's always trying to take from us. I'm just trying to do the Lord's work here, and and prove good science, and keeping on what science is supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be proving things and accomplishing these things we want to achieve. And not be deterred by money or be manipulated by some person's agenda. No, we're going to be doing the right thing forever. And anything I get my hands on, I'm trying to make sure that there's a good moral compass behind it, because the science has done us wrong for so long. I'm just trying to be the good guy.
Yeah, I think that you mentioned as well that universe kind of guides you on a certain path, and when you veer off it, you will feel it. You will come in as a resistance of some form. So if we're going the wrong way, it will be known. But yeah, it's sad what you said about maps. I didn't know. I always thought of maps as beacon of hope, for the space, but. I'm sure people will see through it if it becomes too corporate and too, money oriented. But
most people don't know the history of maps, and they don't know that. So, one of my mentors, Robert Forte. He was taught how to synthesize MDMA by Sasha Shulgin in the lab in Santa Cruz. He wrote books. He wrote the book Road to Eleusis with Timothy Leary and Rock and Lawson. He was also the first person to ever give Rick Doblin MDMA. And Rick Doblin, in turn, which is something they were giving away basically free to all the therapists. Rick Doblin is the reason why MDMA became illegal in the first place. So really, we got to think about this. He's been planning this shit for a long time. It's not this amazing thing that everyone's so the evil org, dude. It's not. And I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to, because they just got bought out by a giant pharma company. So we probably won't even have another MAPS conference that I ever want to go to again. They were taking Soros money. They were doing very bad things, taking money from very bad people. And like I said, Rick did this in the first place. He made it illegal so he could make money off it. It was already being done. And what they've done is created a huge gap in now the underground market, because MAPS is going to Lycos they absorbed or didn't buy it or whatever. They paid $100 million for MAPS. Well, then they got absorbed by a much larger, Osaka or Otsuka Pharma absorbed them. So now MAPS is now a pharmaceutical company, and it's gross. And they're pushing out all of the therapists where you have to be this license this and this license that. You have to be doctor level sort of stuff to get anything done now. This is all coming down the pipe. Just watch. And so they're pushing most of us back into the illegal side of it, or the gray market, or whatever you want to call a church model. Whatever you want to take, but this is going to be a big hit. We're going to see the ripples of it very soon. It's going to come back, and it's going to bite everywhere it has. And I found this out yesterday. It's been eating away at me. And I'm really bummed because outside of all the wokeism that was at MAPS, I just kind of, as a culture, I just kind of don't try to look at all that nonsense. But Rick Doblin had pictures of him with communist leaders at his booth on his a TV thing. It was showing a bunch of pictures of him with a bunch of communist leaders. And I was like, no one see what's happening here? It's crazy. This is all a really fucked up agenda to screw up our country and our world. And back to the Soros thing and all these other little things you got to look at. If you look at the broader picture, it gave us hope, but it's been a CIA-run organization the whole time. The CIA has been doing this forever.
Yeah, it sucks to be a conspiracy theories, but there are a couple of conspiracy theories that make a lot of sense. So including the whole reason why psychedelics are illegal at the first place. It's definitely not for safety of people. If they wanted you to be healthy and safe, they'd ban fast food restaurants and they would ban alcohol. But it's all about money and control, which is okay. There's definitely hidden side to it and hidden interests. But let's not veer off. Let's focus on.
That's the human condition. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's focus on what we can do something about, which is what can you do to get better, and how you got better, right? You were also addicted when you were fighting. You were taking painkillers, right? And you were in a pretty bad state. So talk to us about that side of your story. How was it, and what helped you?
And DMT is what kicked me off of the addiction train. It said, hey, it's time to grow up Peter Pan, Count Chocula, it's time to be an adult. And I finally feel like an adult 6 years later. Like literally just turning 40, I finally feel like I've hit the adult stride in my life. It started with painkillers when I was 14, wrestling in high school. Doctors of my generation were giving out pills like they were candy. So I liked them. I liked them a lot. And I used them the entire time I was wrestling in high school, the time when I was wrestling in college, when I was fighting. And it just got progressively worse and worse and worse. And then I ended up rehab twice. I died of a drug overdose. And my second time out of rehab, I thought fighting was over with. I had already blown my career. I figured, okay, I got to find my life, but I'm in my safe space is the gym. Always has been. I don't belong in normal society. I've tried, and I was in such good shape, and I was beating up everybody. Like I was beating up world-class people would come by the gym, and I would make them look really bad. And rumor kind of started to go. They're like, oh, guess who's back? Guess who's better than ever? Guess who's focused? Guess who's sober? Me. And I got a fight. My coach just knew I needed money. I didn't have any money at the time. Okay, well, yeah, I need some money. So he had me fight somebody. And someone I knew I could beat. It was a good tune-up fight. Well, that was the springboard. I screwed up once after that fight because I was going to go get a tattoo. I got my chest tattoo, the big Sacred Heart, and I used drugs, and I overdosed. So I had relapsed. I was sober for so long. I had relapsed, and I was like, I can't do this. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, I got to get my life together. So I signed. My agent called me in the hospital and he said, hey, where have you been? You're out at the gym. I said, oh, well, I told him where I was. I was in the hospital. I fucked up. I relapsed and I overdosed. He goes, okay, well, do you want me to come see you? I have some stuff to talk about. I was like, no, what is it? He says, well, we want you to fight the number one guy in the world at a lower weight class. And it's we finally, because I was always small for 135, bantamweight. So I said, sure. And I signed the paperwork from a hospital bed after I was just dead like a week before that. And, I was always incredibly gifted. I was able to come out of that, and I was the best in the world a few months later. The doctor, as I was leaving, he was testing me, and he's like, you're at the superhuman. He's like, what is happening? He's like, I was on the operating table for 24 hours when I overdosed. My brother had to wait 24 hours to tell my parents that I was alive. And he goes, I revived you, and now a week later, letting you go, you're in better shape than I've ever seen anyone in my entire life. I am physically different, mentally different than most people because I'm just a super athlete. It's my God-given gifts that I squandered at that point. So I was able to get off the bed, go out there and win, and I kept sobriety. I went on a tear. I beat up a bunch of people. The UFC said, hey, if you're going to keep doing this, we're going to finally make a division for you, because I had already known them since I was 19. Again, I was a prodigy fighter, so they knew who I was. My mentor's Chuck Liddell, so he was a former world champion. And they gave me that offer, and my very first fight in the UFC, I went in sober. I went in incredible shape. I beat arguably the greatest fighter of all time. I should be looked at as one of the greatest fighters of all time.
Who is the
Mighty
guy
Mouse.
you?
Demetrius Miller.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard about him.
In my eyes, he's the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. Um, and that's besides the fact of me fighting him at all. He's fucking incredible. But the fact that I beat him once is pretty neat. That night, when the judges read the scorecards, they gave it to him. And if you watch that fight, I won that fight. Well, my coaches, I freaked out, ran in the back, started crying. I was like, I was really upset. My coaches knew something was up. They found the judges, they found the scorecards and realized that they had read it wrong. So then Dana White came to me later and was like, "Oh, well, you're getting another fight. Don't worry." But I was so fucked up mentally. I watched, my ex-wife caused a lot of issues at that point of my life. So I was just, a lot of drama was happening, and I went upstairs and I started using drugs. I started using Oxycontin again because it was just so much drama. Even though I had this second fight coming up, I just got paid a lunch money. I just lost it, and I started using it again. From the stress, I can't catch a fucking break. I do this, I beat this guy, I get screwed. Well, fast forward a few months, we fight again. He only gets better. I get worse. My life gets more dramatic. My life gets just completely torn upside down. And I, for the rest of my career, was doing this. I get sober and fight and win, get high again and lose, and do this, and just I was never able to keep it together. And I'm not the only person that's this good that's out there in a lot of sports. You think that this greatest of all time is the greatest? There's better out there. They just probably don't have their shit together, like I did. Like it's not to be like the old guy thinking I'm tough, but like I'm still better than all these kids that are fighting in the UFC. I know that because I train them, but granted, I don't have the will or the want or the need to fight ever again or hurt anybody or have anyone hurt me. But, these addictions, they lasted for so long. I'm still dealing with addicted tendencies, in my life as a coach, as a person, because that's life. You just manicure them and you cage them up, just enough. It's like that crazy person that was trying to kill somebody in the cage for all those years, for 16 years. I was trying to murder somebody. That person hides right under my skin. It's right there. Those addictions are right there. But I have control of my life. I have shit to do. I have a daughter to raise. I have, I don't have a girlfriend right now, but I have, I have responsibilities. I have a gym to take care of. I have athletes to deal with. And these things that eventually, if you can get past those addictive tendencies, or put them into a better motion. Go get addicted to working out. Get addicted to eating healthy. Get addicted to breath work and meditation. Weird research and like me. It's addictions can be used for good. That's what I've learned. If you can really take the reins.
I just had a thought come to me. Maybe if you would have won that fight and it was completely 100%, approved, and you got that accolades, and you would have been the greatest of all time in that sport, maybe it would not have led you to the walk of life at which you are in right now. And I think that this is much more valuable for the world than you just winning. So I think your big win is coming.
Yes.
And it's going to be much more meaningful, not just for yourself, but for the world and for the veterans you're trying to help and for the athletes you're trying to help. So I think the universe works in mysterious ways, or God, or whatever you prefer to call it. So, and I think it's going to lead you to something really awesome. And I'm happy to have had this conversation with you. And I think, I'm excited to what's to come for you. And I'd like to, be of assistance if I can with the work I'm doing. I have many ideas that I'm going to talk to you right after we finish with this podcast. But meanwhile, so for people that want to go find you or maybe want to go support you, where can they find you? Where can they get to you? And also maybe any last recommendations?
So what you said is 100% right. My life is a cautionary tale. I'm fine. My life is great. My life is really, really incredible now. And if I would have accomplished all that stuff, I look at like a Conor McGregor, for instance, kind of a douchebag, kind of not like not the person I want to be. I'd probably be dead by now, and I wouldn't be able to accomplish what I'm living now. So you are 100% right. And I've offered Conor my shoes a bunch of times. So, yes.
Conor needs ayahuasca. Mushrooms will not be enough. Maybe that crazy vision I had is going to happen to life someday.
I'm trying to tiptoe my way
never know,
because some of the same people, and they're like, never a bag. A bag will go a lot farther than mushrooms. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to hang out with you. Never mind. But so where you can reach me, my personal Instagram is Ian McCall. You can see all the different stuff I'm doing. I mean, we didn't even touch on the illicit psychedelic stuff that pays bills. But you can check it out there. My life's work is Athlete's Journey Home. So please go there, go to the website, donate. We need money. I mean, I've been funding this thing myself the whole time, and it's expensive. And, the more we can get, the better the studies can be, and the more information we can collect from these people's brains, the better stories we can tell, because this information is not only going to help with traumatic brain injury, it's going to show a drop of inflammation in the brain and the body of such great effect that we can help fight, all the neurocognitive diseases, things like cancer, whether it's basic depression. I mean, we can touch on all of it. That's what this information will give. So thank you for listening. Thank you for donating. Thank you for just giving me the good energy.
Thank you, and thank you so much for coming. Beautiful episodes. Guys, thank you for listening to Ayahuasca Podcast, and I will see you in the next episode. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like our podcast and would like to support us and psychedelic revolution at large, please follow us and leave a like whenever you're listening to this podcast. Nothing in this podcast is medical advice. It's intended for educational purposes only.
Vida te la baila, cura con la guaira, limpia, limpia